Going into senior night, I think it's crazy every time we get to this point in the season. It always goes by so fast, with homecoming last week, and then now here you are to senior night. So just a reminder for them throughout the week. We've tried to maximize as many opportunities as we can to, slow things down. The game always takes precedent in our focus, but trying to enjoy those moments with those guys that mean so much to me. Last year, the first senior class, it was really sped up. You didn't have a ton of time to spend with them. And then this year, these are guys that I've got to spend an extended period of time with. So to be able to celebrate them on Friday and to look at, their accomplishments and what they've been able to do the time that they've been here. Really looking forward to that. We get to play a really good Chapman team. So it should be a fun atmosphere, region contest, and we're looking forward to it.
What are your preparations for this up-and-coming year?
Prep this week, just really wanting to take the next step for us and what our goals are. We won a region championship last year, and we want to do the same thing this year. I think we have some loftier goals. Obviously, I think our goal here is to always win a state championship. But anytime we get to go and compete for something, they're going to crown a region champion. So in order to get that goal accomplished, we need to win this Friday. The preparation has been, studying for a team that is really well coached. You turn on the tape and you see that they do a lot of great things in all three phases of the game: offense, defense, special teams. It's really going to take our best effort this week. We're excited. I think the schedule has worked out to where every week we need to play our best. And going into this week, we need to put that on the field if we want to get the result that we have. Really try to focus on what we have not done well early on in the season. The bye week before last week was here. So I think we've made a lot of strides in the past 2 weeks of identifying some things that we needed to fix. So I expect them, with the emotions of senior night and the excitement that they have, being back at home at North Greenville, I really think these guys are going to play their best football on Friday.
How are you going to take last week's win to this week?
Well, we want to always evaluate last week's contest, win or lose. Fortunately for us, most times it's been early on that we can take a win away from it. But there's plenty of things, and I don't want to sound like I'm being too strong. You win a game 64-14. Our guys really felt like we could have played a lot better in certain regards, whether that's special teams. Henry's with us today, kind of the captain of our special teams. Man, what a phenomenal young man he is. Has done a great job punting and kicking for us. Made a big 42-yard field goal for us.
Yes,
and for Henry, as being on those kicking units early on in the season, we take pride in being great in that third phase of the ball game. And I don't think for his standard, our standard, and kind of being that guy and the leader of those groups, it hadn't been to where we needed to. So really focused on that. So we improved on Friday. We've got some things that we need to clean up for this Friday. Then we did the same thing on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. You score 64 points. You're like, Coach, what else could you do better? Well, we could have done a lot of things better. Same thing for the defense. We gave up some big plays and chunk plays, just some misalignments and not knowing where we're supposed to be. So anytime we get to come back and evaluate the film and fix things with a win, that's exactly what you want. There's a lot of teams. I remind our kids, even as they were a little bit disappointed, we'll always celebrate victories here. Half the teams that played last week in the state, they didn't win. That's just how the record is. So we're excited that we got the result. And hopefully we can take what we looked at last week and improve as we need a new challenge this week.
Henry, last week we asked this question, but I was wondering what's some pregame rituals or stuff you do to prepare yourself mentally?
Yeah, so a lot of the guys go into the locker room usually. That's where they all kind of listen to their music. We do our schedule set up where special teams out first, so I got to get out and stretch and pregame. So some rituals I do with field goal, you got to kind of pick out your points. So I go to different positions on the field, try and just get used to the wind, get used to what it's going to look like when I'm out there. It's definitely important. Yeah, it's definitely important. And all three, punting, kickoff, field goal, you have to kind of know what you're going to be comfortable with, and you have to have that familiarity with being on the field. So, yeah.
I'll mention that Henry's pregame ritual. I'm glad you asked it because it's the most elaborate one that it can be. Not just because of him. That's what kickers do. And I'm glad that he's here today to kind of give you some insight into that. You know, it feels like as soon as we arrive, Henry's on the field. And it feels like he never leaves for all the things that he has to do, you know, from warming up his body and getting ready. And then oftentimes, you know, he doesn't get the credit that he deserves for the success of our team and leading those special teams for us. The kickoff, and so he's in multiple components, practicing his kickoffs, getting his body used to that. Then he switches the mindset, different technique into our field goal routine. Then he's back into punt. And then some of it, he's servicing our guys. You know, he's having to warm up because we need our snappers and holders to get practice, so Henry's with them. Then he's kicking to our returners. Then he's doing all kind of things. So, and on top of that, getting his mind right. Kickers have a huge responsibility, and it's kind of maybe like the quarterback. He gets the glamour. Nobody knows until the game comes down to the line. You know, everybody kind of ignores the kicker, but nobody has more pressure than Henry, and that's not to put on. He embraces that, and there would be nobody else that I want to kick a football in the state of South Carolina than Henry if the game is on the line. But he knows that. You know, it's 17-17. Henry makes it, he's the hero. He misses it, he knows that pressure is on him, so he does a really good job of handling the mental aspect of things and getting his mind right. I can see when he shows up and he has his headphones and laser focus. I try to get him out of it a little bit and let him grin at me a little bit, but he's usually laser focused pregame when we're out there. So it's fun to see his routine. He's really dialed into the details of his job.
Is this game going to be personal? Because I know you came from Chapman.
It seems to be a common question this week. I work to the point where, you know, I tell our kids we answer things straightforward. It's one that you play. There's connections there. I still have coaches that are there that were my coaches, you know, and a mentor relationship that I get to have. You know, I graduated from there, played there, coached there. Know a lot of those kids still, remember, that are playing for them, being at youth camps and family connections, and, you know, I'm from that community, so it's always one that's exciting. You know, I don't think it makes anything more personal or that it makes it more important than the other. It's the next one. We talk to our kids. This is the most important game in MVP history because it's the next one. So taking the next step forward, you know, I really want our football team to match the standard that we have for how we want to execute, how we want to play, how we want to represent ourselves. That's the most important thing to me. So, yeah, it'll be exciting. It'll be a good atmosphere. I'm looking forward to it.
Is there any pressure going into this game, knowing that we're 6-0?
I'll let Henry, from a player standpoint, you know, pressure is a privilege to me. You know, I hope that our kids always want to be playing in games that have expectations and that have meaning to it. You know, if you're in a program and you don't feel some pressure, you're probably not playing in a big-time ball game. You know, so we've been in situations before. You know, our record is there. We want to finish undefeated. I hope that's every coach's goal that's still in this position, if the record indicates that. So I don't think there's added pressure. I think they're looking forward to it. We look at every single week as its own little week in its same bubble. So we've got to be able to do the things that we need to do to win the football game, and that's what we've talked about all week. And I think they're ready to respond. You know, I never see our kids. Well, I know who they are now. This time last year, you could have been asking me some of these questions, and my answer, I may have given you a different one on the press conference, but it was like, I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do, how we're going to respond, what's going to happen, because it was the first time we'd ever been in those situations. You know, so many of these kids have played meaningful minutes now. You know, I know what we've got when we're showing up, and I know who we can trust and what we've got, so I'm excited for them. I think it's a little personal to them. People have asked personal questions to me. You know, they got coach North-South staff. Some of our players weren't selected. I think they've made it a little personal for themselves. So I'm excited for them to go and play and get the opportunity to showcase their skills.
Henry, what's your farthest you've kicked?
In game right now, it was last Friday. It was 42-yarder. So.
What are you doing to make a kick
Well, kicking is a lot more than just kicking the ball. And there's a ton of technique that goes into it. Every day I'm trying to, our special teams coach is Grayson Atkins. I'm working with him every single day, trying to get better, trying to further my knowledge about kicking. There's a lot of pressure that goes into it, so you really have to be dialed in. That's a Coach Ramsey hit on it. But just getting in the weight room too, being locked in. Kickers are kind of looked over a little bit on the fact that these just scrawny white guys that just want to come in and just kick the ball. That's all they do. But it's definitely a lot more. So it's just a grind. You have to work hard every day. But yeah.
Do you have a favorite kicker that you watch closely?
I enjoy watching Koo. He actually goes to the same guy I go to, not in school. Koo, he just got released from the Atlanta Falcons, but he and I kind of have a very similar kicking style on just our approach to the ball. And his backstory with kicking is really cool, how he came up from a different country and stuff. So yeah, I really enjoyed watching him growing up. So.
What are some thoughts you guys have into going into a new game?
I think that you evaluate the opponent. You know, we've played now 6 games, and it feels like every time we go and play a different opponent, they've had a new style, a different type of style from an offensive perspective and a defensive perspective. You know, I'm excited for this week because Chapman on the offensive and defensive side, their schemes are different than what we've seen in any team that we played. So it's forced us to prepare for that. It's forced us to do some different things on our end, you know, what is successful. I get asked all the time, you know, about play calling and the schemes that we run. You know, certain things that I may like to run and that I want to call that, you know, favorite play. This is what it doesn't work against a certain look. You can't. You know, they take it away the way that they play it, their technique, the coverage that they're in, the blitz that they may be running. So the different looks that they present have allowed us to work on things that we need to do that I think will make us a better football team down the road because it's different. Same thing for our defense. You know, their style of offense is much different than what we've seen so far and the things that we need to do. So it's been fun for us. It's been a challenging week. I think our kids like that diversity because you have to be locked in. It doesn't become so monotonous. It's fun to show up on Monday. There's new plays in the game plan. There's new style. There's this and that and what we have to do. So I'm excited to see how they handle that in this week. So the prep work and what we've seen is knowing that we're playing a really good football team, a really well-coached football team, and we've got to be dialed into our details of the game plan, which is on a week like this within our region, very, very important.
Do we have any injuries that will affect us this week?
Fortunately for us, you know, we're into a point in the season that, you know, you typically at this time you lose players and they may be gone for the season. Nobody's healthy at this point in the season, completely healthy, but we should have everybody available, whether their bodies feel great. That's maybe a different story for them to ask, but we're very fortunate that they're going to be allowed to go and participate and play. We've done a really good job. For the games that they've missed early, you know, you always want to try to get these kids back, and you're a little cautious in your non-region because you want them ready for your region. So we've rested kids that if this was a region game or a playoff game, they probably would have played, and now here we are, you know, they're going to play. What's helped us, though, is in the non-region when we kept those kids out because we wanted to make sure they were ready for the stretch run, is we built some depth, and we found some kids that have really earned some spots and taking that, and you're going to see a lot of them on Friday too. So it's been good for our football team. You know, we went from positions that we thought, I sure hope this guy doesn't get hurt. I don't know what we're going to do. And then now we're like, well, we're okay. We found 2 or 3 guys that can step up, and they've gotten better because they've gotten Friday night reps. So yeah, fingers crossed, knock on wood, whatever else we can do. Hopefully we stay healthy. But typically at this point, you've lost someone, so for us to be in the situation that we are, we're really fortunate and blessed and glad that we've got those guys available.
Henry, I wanted to ask you too about like leadership this year and how you've stepped into that role.
Yeah, being the main guy on special teams people rely on, you really have to know what the goal is, and that comes with watching film. I definitely have been watching film more digitally this past year. So, and you have to know the expectation. Coach Ramsey, definitely can tell, has been harder on me this year. And I needed it. That's exactly, as a head coach, that's his responsibility, and it's mine I have to execute. So I appreciate him keeping me accountable. And just at the end of the day, it's 0-0, and you have to have that mentality, and you have to get the boys hyped up. You gotta, that comes with, back to your question, Sam, pre-game, making sure everyone's locked in, so yeah.
Henry's done a great job from a leadership standpoint. Leadership does bring some pressure to it. I think that every kid that probably walks in here, they told you, I mean, I'm really tough on kids. I believe in that, especially at practice. My job, and I tell them this, and it's from a figurative standpoint, my job is to make you quit. Not quit the game of football, but to get you to a point to where you can't handle it, and that I'm tough on you or whatever it may be, or the situation, because he's going to be in a game on a Friday night. And I'm always honest with him. I was like, man, if you can't handle Coach Ramsey getting into your ear about a missed field goal at practice and getting on to you and pushing you, what are you going to do when we're playing in front of 12,000 people in a state championship game and the game's on the line? You know, you got to be able to handle me. So I try to get our kids pushed to a point to where they are uncomfortable and they're upset and they're emotional, and try to experience those things and find ways in which, through their position coach, through conversations with me and actually talking and understanding what we're trying to do, that they grow from those moments in practice, because I know what it's like on a Friday. Henry's position's unique. We have some other ones that are highlighted. You know, there's plenty of positions on the football field. They make a lot of mistakes, and you guys don't have a clue. You know, we grade them out, and because they don't get the ball or they don't do this, people in the stands, they have no idea that hey, he played really great. He made 2 really good plays. I mean, we have wide receivers all the time. An offensive guy, he'll have 3 catches. He caught 2 of them for a touchdown. And I asked the parents, I asked the supporters, fans that were in attendance, who played well tonight? Oh, man, he was awesome. He had 2 touchdown catches, and we go and grade him on film. He graded out of 58. And he didn't block, or he wasn't where he was supposed to be. Henry, everybody knows his success is going to be based on what it sees. There's no hidden things that he does. He either kicks the ball through the upright,
or he doesn't.
Yeah, he either makes it or he doesn't. So that pressure is immense, and his leadership throughout our program and handling that pressure, I really appreciate, because he has to be that guy, and we've had those conversations. I need him to handle that pressure well, so that when other people are wanting him out, he's like, man, you see what Coach Ramsey, how tough he is on me? You need to be able to handle this and grow, and he's done a really good job of handling that, and it's made him a much better kicker. I mean, he is, from the time he started off as a sophomore last year to where he's at now, not just the talent level and the work that they've done with Coach Atkins, but from who he is as a person, and his leadership has really grown. So I'm proud of him for that.
Henry, let me ask you this too about the growth mindset. What do you think other students, or maybe younger students, could learn from what you're experiencing, like being pushed to the edge and realizing that you can do more?
Just having an open mind. Coaches push you. Sometimes they feel like they're physically pushing you, they're pushing you down, and it's for a reason. You have to bounce back. You have to understand that it's not just you he's pushing down, but he's pushing you down so you can be better, so everyone else can be better. I sometimes get pissed off at practice, and I mean, I'm usually keep to myself. I'm not one to go crazy, but I definitely, some people will be like, hey man, you're good, and I just don't talk to them, because I just gotta settle down. And yeah, you just having that open mind going into practice is a really big key in how practice is going to go. You only get, really for us, we get 3 days of hard practice, and then 4th day we kind of review everything, and it's game time. So you have to, it's important to be locked into practice, is having that open mind. Yeah.
Very good answer.
Anybody else? All right, I saved this for the end because I'm not sure if you want to answer it or not, but I'll just put it out there anyway. The uprights are a little closer together at our stadium.
Yeah.
How
yeah.
does that affect you when you're kicking?
The way I see it, once again, having the open mind is just going to make me better. And there is that percentage that goes down on, physically shortens up when I'm kicking, trying to make it go through the uprights. But it's just another thing that's going to make me better. And I know it could be the difference between 3 points and not having it. So I don't let it get in my head. I try and tell Coach Ramsey, hey, I messed that one up. Get me back on the field. I'll make it happen. So
I'm excited for him as he goes through those things. Henry's going to kick in college. There's no doubt about that. He's going to have a lot of opportunities, and so I tell him one day in front of 80,000 people, you're going to need to make it through that size of uprights. Let's make it through the 1,000 that's there for us. So
yeah.
It's good. And I try to put in a comparison. Their kickers got to kick through the same one. So you'd be better in theirs every week, and we'll be fine. So.